played well last night.
I thought I was great. You know, shooting touch was there. You know.
Vintage Kerr.
Yeah, vintage Kerr, defensive stopper. You know.
Hey, we talked about with so many other players about their potential exodus, but let's talk about your status. I mean, give us an update as it relates to you.
My contract's up, but you know, I'll sit down with Robert and talk about that. That wasn't something to really discuss, you know, during the season. But now that the season's over, we'll talk about all that.
You want to be back though?
Yeah.
Having that fun to
Yeah. I mean, this year was great. A little more fun than last year, but we've got a great group of people here. I love working with Alvin, and you know, we've got a good thing going, and the plan is to try to sustain it. And we've got a good group of young players who are representing the future in a lot of ways, and some vets who still have a lot of years left in them.
Well, the obvious question is Amari Stoudemire. What do you think is going to happen there?
I'm not going to talk about Amari at this point. It's just not. It's not right. I'm not going to talk about any, you know, player contract free agency stuff with any of our guys. You know, the season just ended yesterday. We need to just sit back and let everybody unwind a little bit, and we'll deal with that later.
So that means you don't want him back?
Thanks, Bob. Yeah.
Do you need to decompress though after seasons like this?
Somebody told me the other day. They said, "Do you need to decompose after a season like this?" No, I decomposed after last season. Yeah. But no, decompress is a good way to put it. I mean, it's been a great season. It's been a wonderful season, but you know, very disappointing to just come up short. But I'm so proud of our guys, the way they fought to the bitter end. Both Game 5 and 6, we were right there. Game 6 looked completely lost, and once again our bench comes in, and Goran almost personally lifted us back into that game emotionally. And so you see all these guys, you see the way they fight and scrap and claw, and you take so much pride in that. And it's a great sign for the future of our organization, because we got a lot of young, talented fighters, and some, as I mentioned, some vets who have mentored those young guys, and I think it's a really good situation.
Players talk about that big picture. You mentioned Goran, and you got a future Hall of Famer Steve Nash right here. What did Goran do to change your perceptions of him? Did he kind of elevate himself?
Well, he just proved himself. You know, we felt that he could do that all along, but just the you know, the fact that he went out and did it on the biggest stage, you know, 26 in San Antonio, 23 in the fourth. Yeah. Last night against the world champs, the guy's fearless, and he's really talented, and he can get a lot better. And the growth that he showed, Jared Dudley, Robin Lopez, Lou Amundsen, Channing, it's very encouraging, you know, to see all these young guys and see the type of character and fight they have.
Is it Stan Inbounds to get you to comment at least about Channing and Lou?
No. I said
well,
a group. I said no.
Amari.
I said all free agents.
Right.
Yeah. We'll deal with that later.
What was it that you came up short that you look at and say you need to change? I mean, Steve said there really is nothing that needs to be changed, but change is part of the league. Right. What do you see? I know it's only been 24 hours. That you say, you know what, we need to get a little bit here, a little bit there.
Well, I don't know. We were one of the last 3 teams standing, and we happened to run into one of the greatest closers of all time. I mean, the shots that Kobe hit last night, you know, if we could sign somebody as a free agent to stop that, we'll do that. If you have any suggestions, we'll take them.
I don't want you to get fined.
Yeah, there you go.
Steve, is it a foregone conclusion that you and I will work something out with your future, you think?
You know, like I said, I mean, this is something we'll talk about in the next week, but, you know, I don't want to go into it further.
Just there's a formality, you know, the conference will.
Is there a timing for that with, you know, all the big decisions coming up?
We're gonna decompose here for the next couple of days.
You mentioned Kobe, and you're a great guy to answer this question, but with him pursuing that 5th ring, that Michael comparison comes up again. How do you see that?
He's right there. You know, anybody else you try to compare to Michael to, and you know, don't even start with Kobe. Yeah, it's a valid comparison. He's phenomenal. I'll always be partial to Michael because he got me 3 rings, but you know, they're very similar. They're different in some ways. You know, Kobe's got better range on his shot, and he's maybe a little better ball handler on the perimeter. Michael was more explosive, stronger. In Michael's era, you could maul people, and he still managed to get 40. Now you can't even touch a guy, so that's there's a little difference in the way the game's played. But the similarity is that Kobe is like Michael, you know, the guy who closes everything.
You notice since
Somebody
you've been
more
talking about
important
Amari,
is over there.
everybody's leaving you because you won't say
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, that's true. All right. Hey, we'll see. We'll see. But Earl for sure. Earl and Taylor.
You know, obviously some disappointment. It's the third time in 6 years we've lost in the Western Conference Finals. So we just, got to figure out the secret sauce to get over the hump.
This team endeared itself to this marketplace at a high level, Suns fever. They want to keep this team together. What's your sense of the big question? Your thoughts on Amari and his future?
The only thing I know is this was obviously his last game for this season. Beyond that, don't really have any thoughts on it right now.
You're going to initiate talks with him?
I'm not even going there right now. We just finished the season last night. So what I've learned over the last few years, it's best to take a week or two and just kind of step back, and you make better decisions when you're not tied up in the emotions of the season ending.
What do you take away from this year? What's your...
I think just the momentum we have in terms of team chemistry, in terms of defense, toughness, just the whole trying to get everybody to play together, and the power of a team to me is a winning formula, and so I think that's something we're going to try to build on.
Is it a case of maybe considering overhaul or tweaking, or you have to have an intuitive sense of coming this close, 2 games away from a final, 2 wins away?
Overhaul, I think is probably.
You got older players. Do you think of?
I don't know. I think that's something, a couple weeks from now we'll all sit down and take a good hard look at. But clearly we had a winning formula this year, and a big part of that formula was team chemistry and a combination of good veteran leaders and young players. And Alvin Gentry put it all together and did a great job.
You mentioned taking some time. Do you have a timetable on when you're going to start taking a look at things and start?
No, I just think it's good to take a week or two off and then step back fresh and take a look at everything. So that's something we'll probably do.
Thanks,
say
man.
that this was a surprising season, and if so, what surprised you the most?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was surprising, but I would say we exceeded expectations. The team exceeded my expectations, to be honest. And I think it just started in training camp with great chemistry, and it just continued. And even when things kind of went against us, we went on that little bit of a losing streak. Players didn't step back at all and just kept coming. And I thought we gave great effort almost every single game this year. And we played the Lakers pretty tough. They're the defending champs, and so very, very proud of how we did. Overall, it was a great year.
Do you have a reason to believe that if you keep all these parts together, you can have a similar result if you're better next season?
We're gonna wait a week or two to reevaluate everything. I learned a couple years ago it's not good to sit down and try to figure things out the next day. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.